Hi everybody, it's Shadow Boy here. So I wanted to do a video today on an English rite, an English custom called Wassailing. So there are two types of Wassailing. So there's normally Wassailing, which is when people basically go carol singing. Um, and the other Wassailing is basically involves orchards, and that's the Wassailing I'm going to be talking about today. The custom itself is English. The word Wassail is Old English, and there's a Norse crossover there as well. And Wassail means be whole, be healthy. And this rite normally takes part in the west of England or the southeast of Wingland or the southeast of England, normally where places of cider production are largely prominent. Okay, and the idea of the whole ritual is to drive away evil spirits and to wake up the trees of that orchard and give them offerings so that there will be a productive harvest for the next year. So different places will vary, different places, different rituals will vary, but there are two things that are normally in common with a wassail ritual. The one thing is that there will be noise. There is an element of noise. So normally, some people will make a procession coming up to the orchard. Going up to the orchard, people will have pots and pans and sticks and scream and howl and laugh, and the noise is a massive element there. Some people will bang pots and pans by the trees. Normally, each tree is gone to, and a large amount of sound is made. Some people will bang pots and pans. Some people will beat the tree with a stick, and some people even use guns. It's not uncommon for rural places because obviously intercity, it's England, most people don't have guns. But rural places, farmers and people like that, they do have gun licenses and guns. So normally what these people do is they fire shots up in the air. And one of my friends was telling me that his dad had dad had been to, well, his partner's dad had been to wassailing ceremonies where they fire a musket out the back door, which is just proper batshit mental. So why is the reason for all this sound? Why is the reason for all this massive sound at all these trees? And the idea behind it is that by doing this, by making this noise, you wake up the spirits, the evil spirits that have inhabited those trees over the darker periods of the year, that they have hid and took refuge in those trees over the winter months. And so you're making that noise to say, get out of the trees, go. You know, it's the trees are waking up now, you have no place here, leave. And you take away the evil spirits so that there's a larger chance of growth, there's a larger chance of production. So that is the element of noise, and it will differ. Different place will differ. People will have Morris dancing as well. Morris dancing typically will take place at wassail ceremonies, large wassail ceremonies, particularly for pubs. There are a lot of pubs nowadays in England, in much rural areas, where they do wassail ceremonies. In fact, there are actually pubs in East London that do wassail ceremonies. Which is a bit crazy because I didn't even know there was orchards in East London, but hey ho. And so the other element to it is the drink, is the punch wassail. And the punch wassail, the recipe may differ, but I'm going to give you the recipe that I use, and it's gorgeous. I love it. Some people have it's cider. It's made a wassail punch bowl is made out of cider. And it's normally a spiced cider. Now, people will add shots of whiskey in this. People will add pineapple juice in this. Some people even add egg in this. The mix itself is known as lamb's wool because it tends to froth. It's white and it's frothy, and it's always hot. It's always served hot 9 times out of 10. And so the recipe I use is I get cider, pour it into a saucepan. I add two tablespoons of brown sugar. Some people add honey. And then after that, I chop a lemon in half and squeeze half a lemon in it and drop the lemon in it to imbue. I cut an apple up. I throw the apple in there. And then after that, I will add a spice cider mix. They're normally, you can get them from a supermarket in like little, almost like little tea bags, but for cider, spice cider. But the ingredients in there is allspice, nutmeg, cinnamon, and star anise as well. If you're going to do it, just go easy on the star anise. Only add one or two in because it's potent stuff. But that's how I make mine. I allow it to heat up and then it's used. You know, I take mine in a flask and then take it to the orchard with me. And so within this bowl, what normally happens is you have toast, you have pieces of toast. So after these trees have been, this noise have been made around each tree, wake up, you know, go away bad spirits. And there are various different chants throughout the different regions. They will differ. Loads of people have different songs that would be sung. And one of the chants that I have used is Wassail the trees that they may bear, you many a plum, apple and pear, and for the fruits that they do give, as you do bring them wassailing. So that's one of the chants that we have used. So it will vary though, it will vary. So normally after that you have toast that's put into a large punch bowl of cider, and this toast is soaked. And then it's then put into the branches and into the leaves. And the idea is that you feed the spirits of the plant, of the tree, you feed the orchard tree. And by doing that, that will encourage further growth for the year ahead. It will give growth, it will make the trees produce more fruits, it will appease the spirits, it will appease the trees and help them grow. Now there is actually a scientific thing behind wassailing as well. And I'm not going to go into it fully, but there is actually a thing that, in fact, the toast with the yeast, with the cider in, attracts more bugs, which also feeds the birds as well, because it was known that the robins would feast on the bread the morning after. But it does actually help the production of the tree. So there is actually a scientific thing behind it, which is pretty interesting. And yeah, after that, normally people toast and people drink the wassail punch themselves as well. Obviously, have a separate one, not with bits of dried toast in. But if you actually analyze the custom, if you look at the ritual, it's tree worship. For what it is, it's completely pagan, and you can tell when the invocation, some of the chants and prayers will have God in it. You know, we'll talk about God and things like that. But if you look at the element of this old custom, and it is ancient wassailing, if you look at it, it's pretty pagan. Now, is it a direct ritual back from paganism? No, but it has and holds within it strong pagan customs and strong pagan remnants that have carried on and adapted through a different guise. And me and my friend do wassailing each year, and we are fortunate enough to live near an orchard, and we work in an orchard. And what's nice is we work in the place the whole year round. So as a way of us doing it, it's also a sacrifice for the land in which we work. So it's nice to be able to do that as a way of offering, as a way of sacrifice to the spirits, and also bonding, because we have worked in that orchard a lot. And so, personally speaking, wassailing, a lot of the times when we do it, we laugh, we giggle, we have so much fun, because quite frankly, wassailing is probably one of the most batshit insane things I think I've ever done. You know, banging trees, going, wake up to each tree, you know, screaming, you know, putting bits of soaked toast in trees and, you know, but if you look at it in pure essence, it is animism. It's the belief that everything has a spirit, and it's a link to our pagan past. It's a link to our ancient ancestors. So if you analyse it from that perspective, it is tree worship, it is animism, it's animistic beliefs in the idea that a tree has a spirit, has a soul, and that if you give, you know, and these are places where other bad spirits can inhabit, and if you get the bad spirits out, and if you give offerings to those trees, you will have a bountiful harvest come the year. And it's actually a really, really fulfilling thing to do, because if you spend enough time in that orchard, you see the pattern. You see that orchard grow. You see it bloom, you see it die, you see it re-happen again. And it's a powerful thing to experience, to go through that, to see. It's an incredibly powerful, for me, the ritual of wassailing. Although we giggle, although we laugh, we find it funny, but there is an immense amount of power within it, because there's a bonding to the land, but there's carrying a tradition that has gone back and back and back, and carrying an old tradition and an old custom, and it feels fantastic. Normally wassailing will happen the 12th night after Christmas. Some people also do it on the 17th of January as well. So that's a time when people will do it. I'm trying to think of other things. But I wanted to do a piece on wassailing because although it's not witchcraft, it's British customs, it's extremely folkloric. It's completely folkloric, and if you actually analyse it for what it is, you see that wassailing has some very older pagan customs in it. It's not a direct link to the ancient pagan ancestors of Britain. It's in no way a link to that, but you can tell that it's a few remnants from our pagan past. It holds within it animism, within it the tree worship. Wassailing, if you walk down the street and said to an English person, "Oh, wassail," they would be like, "What the fuck is that?" Because unfortunately a lot of English people are pretty shit when it comes to their own traditions and customs. In my personal belief, my encounter of a lot of English people, a lot of them are really ignorant and just a bit like, and just really shit. But that's my beef with them. However, wassailing is becoming more popular and more prevalent, and people are seeing this in terms of pubs and places like that. And it's absolutely lovely to see. And it's an incredible thing to see as well, because it's fantastic to know that it's coming back and that there are these old English customs that people still do today, and it's amazing. But the actual rite itself is good fun. If you ever get the chance to go to a wassailing ceremony, or if you're watching this video, find out where there are wassailing ceremonies around you and go. I urge you, honestly, because I think it's an incredible thing to witness. It's fun, and quite frankly, January is shit. The weather is shit, it's dark, you wake up, it's dark, you go to sleep, it's dark, and it's something to look forward to. It's the most batshit mental thing I've ever done, putting, soggy bits of toast in trees in the middle of January, but there is definitely something else to it. There is definitely a connection there to the land, to the trees, to the spirits of the trees, and to older customs of the past. So, yeah, over and out, and I hope you guys like this video. Peace.